What's up, guys? Tambo here with your weekly core report. With the first week of NBA in the books, our Run Pure Sports hot streak continues. Big T hit 58,000 across both sites on opening night. New member Jeff Nugent hit for 10K. Shawnee hit for 22K. And on night 2, Eden Cohen shipped for a monster $250,000. On Wednesday, Locks hit for $72,000 on DraftKings. And on that same night, I hit my biggest NBA win yet, shipping for over $100,000 on FanDuel. Glock's heat map provided me with the info I needed to build my lineup and help me ship. And it wasn't just NBA producing big winners. Big T pushed Gus the Bus Edwards hard on the Sunday Morning Wood Show.
I know we're saving money at running back this week, but are you spinning up for Derrick Henry?
Yeah, I mean, I can't play Derrick Henry when I'm playing Gus the Bus.
Gus went off, scoring 2 touchdowns at only 2% ownership. Make sure you're subscribed to our YouTube channel to get great calls like this for free on a daily basis. Guz was also featured in Big T's player pool, along with Bengal stacks. Congrats to P451017 for riding that stack to $15,000. And shout out to DK for 5 for staking Corey Pooler, who hit for $1,500. DK for himself hit for $4K on the afternoon slate. To top off the week, our members ran pure in some Showdown contests too. Last Thursday, I shipped another King of the Beach seat with plays I highlighted in my attack plan, available to premium members, featuring Jawan Johnson in the captain slot. And the winning continued on Sunday's Showdown slate with a slew of RPS logos sharing in a first place finish. Congrats to Bring the Noise, who entered 2 different lineups, which actually both tied for first. Shout out as well to member Alec for turning $20 into $10K in MLB. Congrats again to all our members. If you want to be featured in the core report, drop your winning lineup in our Members Never Win channel in our premium Discord. If you're not a member, join now. You won't find a better value with all sports included for one low price. Remember, if you're not winning with us, you're watching us win. Until next time, let's keep running pure.
Welcome to the NBA Hardwood Show. I am Meg, and I am joined by my guys, Kurt and Glock. And this is my first time hosting the Run Pure Show. So thank you guys so much for having me. I'm looking forward to breaking down this 6-game Saturday slate and talking with the guys. But before we get started, please be sure to give us a thumbs up, like this episode, show me some love since this is my first time hosting. And we'll, get into the game-by-game breakdowns. But before we do, let me say hi to my guys. Kurt, how are you doing today? And any overarching thoughts for this slate?
So doing good. College football sweat might be in fruition. So I'm kind of excited to see how that plays out. For the NBA slate, we got some news already. Miles Turner's out. We got Terry Rozier's probably doubtful. So we do have some news to go off of. I know it's super early, but it's nice we can kind of get those out of the way. But it looks like a pretty tasty slate. We got some value. We might be even able to afford 12.5 Luka maybe.
Okay, nice. Well, I followed your cores on college football. I'm definitely going to follow your cores on NBA tonight. Doc, how are you doing? And what are you thinking about this slate tonight?
Oh, it feels good to be on an NBA show. I think it's my first one of the year for sure for this NBA season. Nice. I think last year when I got brought on by RPS, my first show was with Kurt. So we're kind of back. We're going full circle.
There you go.
Should be good mojo. I think that show as well, it was also a Memphis late night hammer with Steph Curry. And it just so happens that tonight, Memphis is a spot we'll definitely be targeting and we'll get into as a potential late night hammer. And I'm just excited to be on first show with you, Meg.
Exactly.
It's going to be fun. I'm excited to break this game, these 6 games down with you all. This is like kind of my sweet spot for NBA, kind of when you're getting to like the 10, 11 games, like last night was the first night where it was like, it felt like a lot, right? A lot of news was hitting. You had a late swap a lot, make a lot of changes. There was a million questions in the Discord. You could see in the Discord after lock, like everyone was going wild. So that just like shows you how wild of a slate it was.
Right.
But yeah, I generally like the 4 to 6 game slates. And, when I woke up and I saw this, this slate size today, I was happy to see that it was 6 games. So yeah, definitely excited to break it down with you both. And yeah, it should be fun.
Yeah, I like the shorter, the six games, kind of my sweet spot too. So I'm excited to talk about this one as well. Well, we're going to go game by game, but before we do, please be sure to give us a little thumbs up, like this episode, because if you do, we will be giving the guys plays of the day if you get us some likes. So we need those likes though first. So let's go game by game. I'm going off the playbook on Run Pure and going in order here. So we got the Warriors going to the Hornets, a 234 total. Kurt, I'll go to you first. What are you liking in this game?
So Charlotte's been letting people down with the Terry Rozier news. So I do think I will have some plays here. I do not have any ill feelings towards this Hornets team. I will go right back to them. I don't think they're going to be able to stick with the Warriors here, even with the Warriors traveling over. But they just got so embarrassed last night versus that young Magic team. But I think they're going to come back and show some fight here. We keep it close enough for us to target some of these guys. You got Steph Curry 9.8. Don't mind going there. We saw what Orlando can do to them. I mean, it's not like they have anyone that can really stop Curry. Just depends how close this game is, but you can run it back with many options. Hayward's there. You can go Oubre. I actually like Theo Maledon. He's been starting 3.5. I mean, I like what I saw from him. He's handling the ball when he's out there, and whereas Bognight's kind of just playing a more off ball and setting in the corners. But I mean, you even got Clay down here 5.4, Draymond 5.7. This is a really good spot for these Warriors to just go off, kind of like the Magic did yesterday. Everyone expected all the Magics to go off when really is a blowout, and they only got like the Palo really going to value. But I think this is a good game to target here off the bat. Don't go too crazy because we've got some other good spots late, but I would not mind a mini stack here at all, especially with the value Theo Maledon.
Right. And we're still waiting on injury news, of course, to break. And if you guys hear of anything as this show's going, be sure to let me know. But Glock, what do you like in this game?
Yeah, so I think I might like it a little less than Kurt does. It feels like, but you look at this slate, you have a lot of wide spreads, right? So like you have -10 here. You've got the Nets favored by 11 in the next game. You've got the Mavs favored by 10 against the Thunder later in the slate. So, obviously that late night hammer spot is where a lot of ownership's going to be. So finding where you can get like a mini correlation, like what Kurt said, like a Steph Curry, and like a Dennis Smith Jr. or Kelly Oubre, kind of those mini correlations where, you have one player from each side, is going to determine your slate most likely, because you're going to want to try and pair the two stars that go against each other and are actually in a close game, right? We saw it last night with, when the Hornets played Orlando. Obviously you wanted Paolo, but really you didn't want anyone on the opposite side of Charlotte because Charlotte got blown out. So that's going to be the key on this slate, being as it is a short slate. And one thing I always like to do is correlate my stars on opposing sides, because I feel like when it's a close game, for this example, the Warriors in a close game, you'd expect Steph Curry to go off, right? And then on the opposite side, he's going to take someone with him, whether it be, a Gordon Hayward or a Kelly Oubre or, Theo Maledon, like Kurt said. So yeah, that's kind of a high level thought about this slate overall. But yeah, in this game, I don't know, the Hornets just got mollywopped by Orlando, right? So most of the starters didn't play into the fourth. They should be well rested, but man, to me, it's just like a tale of two teams, right? One is a really good team and one is a really, really bad team. Right. And, I would have had more interest in it overall if Scary Terry was in. But as he's listed doubtful and Cody Martin's also doubtful, I may just be okay with fading this game, and just waiting on the news for the later games personally. Obviously, Steph Curry gets a homecoming game in Charlotte. Right. His dad is going to be there for sure, most likely. And, that always makes for an interesting tournament play. And Steph Curry, he always is an interesting tournament play. Mm-hmm. So that would likely be my only consideration, from this game. Obviously, like Kurt said, Draymond Green, Andrew Wiggins, they're kind of in that like mid-tier price range where they can be used as like tournament GPP fillers. But it's not something I'm going to force in. So yeah, I mean, I feel okay about this game, but I don't think I'm going to really jam in anything for sure.
Okay. All right. Well, then let's head over to the next game. We've got the Indiana Pacers heading over to play the Brooklyn Nets. The total is 240 and the spread is 11 points. Kurt, what do you got on this game? What do you like?
So the way the slate's breaking down to me, like Block mentioned it, with all the spreads being so wide,
Right.
I'm going to run like 5 or 6 lineups and just do different game stacks, because I don't know which one of these games stay close. And if you're just building one line, I do feel for you tonight. I'm sorry, but I think you just get the nut lineup when you hit right on. If the Golden State game stays close, you're going to get 4 or 5 guys that just absolutely smash. So that lineup goes nuke. And this is another game where you got some cheap guys like Halliburton's 8-3. I know they're tanking, but like now Miles Turner's out. So you got some of these bigs you can take, where you can take like 3 or 4 guys from this game. And if it stays close, you might smash. I know Ben Simmons, I'm pretty sure he is popping in the optos, which is kind of funny. But if it stays close, I mean, he's 6'4", no Miles Turner. He can probably be able to do what he wants. I mean, if they give him the ball and he won't shoot, but they do kind of seem like they're adamant on getting him kind of like comfortable. So 6'4", I'll take the shot in GPPs. Like I said, stack it up. You can go Halliburton, Simmons, run it back with one of the two. I don't play Irving, I'm going to be honest, but Durant. Jalen Smith is my preferred big, but I know people have a bad taste in their mouth. I also like what I've seen from Jackson. I'm not sure what the stars are going to be, but I don't mind taking a shot on even Gogo Batadze. Like I said, if you do my strategy, I think you're better off in the long run. Do 5 or 6 lineups, stack this game up, pick the 2 starting bigs, maybe the starting big for the Pacers, and then the one from the bench as well, and then kind of stack it up with 3 different nets. I don't mind that at all. That's how I'm approaching this slate. And Royce O'Neal is even playing a shit ton of minutes at 4-9. This is just the perfect slate to do my strategy. I hope you have the funds to do so, because you might have the winner.
Do you typically on short slates do the game stacks?
No, but how, like with all these wide spreads, with all these
spreads,
shit teams tanking, like Charlotte's bad. They have like all those guys out. Indiana's tanking. So I just think it fits. And then you got Memphis and Utah. Utah's tanking, and you got Memphis with Ja out. So it's like, what game stays close? I don't want to be having to predict which one stays close. I'm not Vegas, so I'd rather just stack it in many different ways.
Right. Glock, what do you think? What do you like in this game?
Yeah, I mean, Kurt hit it right on the head. Like, you're going to want, so obviously you're going to have your Memphis pieces from the later game, but the rest of your lineup is what's going to determine the slate, right? And like we just discussed, you can, because of these wide spreads, it's going to be hard to determine which game you really want to stack up, right? In that first game that we just covered, you'll have like a Steph Curry and a Kelly Oubre, right? And then in this game, you can easily have, a Kevin Durant and then Tyrese Halliburton on the opposite side. I mean, all those guys are obviously grading really well. I think I would prefer this spot a lot more than the Warriors and Hornets spot personally, just because like the Nets, I still think they have a lot to figure out. Like they're 1-4 still. And you're telling me I can get 10, 11 points on a team that's 1-4. I mean, obviously the Pacers are in tank mode and they are without Miles Turner. But still, I think this Brooklyn team has a lot to figure out. And, they have hungry young pieces like Tyrese Halliburton. He's obviously still trying to prove himself. He's only 8.3K point guard eligible. You have Miles Turner out, as I mentioned previously, which makes me like Jalen Smith more, especially if they start him at the 4. It feels like he's a lot better at the power 4 position than he is at the 5. So that's something to keep out an eye for. I don't like him if he's starting at the 5, just because he's so small and he can't really guard the big man. Obviously, he's going against Claxton, who isn't that big of a dude, right? But I just think his production comes a lot better when he's at the 4 position. So keep your eye on that. Like I think last time Turner was out, they did start Isaiah Jackson. But it could be Goga, like Kurt said. It could be Terry Taylor. They've done that for sure. And, we're all familiar with that situation. So just keep an eye out on the starting lineup for Indiana. But yeah, like Kurt said, he's not really a Kyrie guy, but if you look at his logs, Kyrie has been outperforming KD, and man, I don't know. It's like, I agree with you where I think Kevin Durant can, put up more peripheral stats. Like he's going to be under the rim most likely. He has more double upside, but up until this point, Kyrie has been outperforming KD, and I do think that's bound to turn over eventually. So I do prefer KD. He is small forward and power forward eligible, which I feel like is a weaker position today. So that would be big. And then, man, I don't know. I just can't really get behind Buddy Hield at ownership. He would probably be my least favorite player in this slate. So I would likely go Tyrese Halliburton is my favorite from Indiana. Kevin Durant, obviously from Brooklyn. and then Jalen Smith from Indiana, and then whoever they start at center, I would like as well.
Well, you make a good point about position eligibility to keep in mind too. And, this is kind of like our first look or early look show. And because again, you got to pay attention to obviously the news and of course, as you said, the starting lineups. So with that, let's go over to game 3. And it looks like this is our closest spread of the night. We have 76ers on a back end going to the Chicago Bulls, also on a back end. It's a 2-point spread and the total is 221.5. So I'll go to you first, Glock, this time. What do you like in this game?
Yeah, so you did mention both teams on the back end of a back-to-back. Last night, they both rested their key guys, right? So Joel Embiid for Philly, Levine for Chicago. So I would expect them to be available for tonight's contest.
Right.
These two will likely be, in the Eastern Conference playoff picture when it's all said and done. From a basketball viewing perspective, I like this game a lot. I think it's going to be really fun to watch. Has one of the closest spreads on the slate, obviously, because both teams should be fully healthy. But from a DFS perspective, it makes it difficult when all these guys are in from each side, right? On Philly, you obviously have James Harden. You've got Joel Embiid. Tyrese Maxey has been starting to get it going as of late. And then on the opposite side, on Chicago, you've got a 3-headed beast as well. Nikola Vucevic, Zach LaVine is there. DeMar DeRozan is there. So from a DFS perspective, it makes it hard to pick who you really like. But, from the Philly side, I think James Harden was super disappointing last night. I think a lot of people, including myself, jammed him in with LeBron James. But I'll go right back to the well, right? There's a lot of question marks around Embiid as, they're already managing his load, right? He sat out last night due to load management, and we're 4 or 5 games into the season. So I'll continue to fade Embiid, and I'll ride, James Harden. I'll continue to ride the wave on Maxey. I mean, he's only 5.7K. Surely will be one of the higher owned players, on the slate, but he's just been playing super, super well. And the ceiling that you can get and unlock at 5.7K is, something I'm definitely interested in. And then on the Chicago side, it's a lot harder for me, as I feel like, DeMar DeRozan is a prime example where last night, I think he scored 33 raw points and literally racked up no other peripherals. And that's something I kind of expect from DeMar DeRozan. I didn't expect it last night because they didn't have Zach LaVine. But now tonight, it's going to be a lot harder to rack up the peripherals, I think. So I have less interest on the Chicago side. If I had to pick a piece, it would be Zach LaVine. He is the well-rested one while his teammates are coming off of a game last night. And in the last game that he played, he actually looked like himself. He dropped 45.5 fantasy points, and then he shot really well from the field. He's been shooting really well from 3. So, and that's something you really want to look out for when you're playing on a site like DraftKings. So yeah, I think pretty easy for me. James Harden, Tyrese Maxey from Philly, and then Zach LaVine would be my preferred target on Chicago. And obviously, you can have fillers like Ayo Dosunmu. PJ Tucker is never really fun to roster, but you're going to need to fill in your roster with some of these guys, and it's not going to be the most fun for sure when you click on their name.
Right. Kurt, let's first do a wellness check on you. How's your sweat going?
It's good. It's good. So I'm kind of wanting this West Virginia game to kind of extend a little bit. I wouldn't mind if Quentin Johnson got the 100-yard bonus.
Okay.
And then kind of West Virginia turned the ball over or got the ball back. But anyways, back to this game.
Okay, back to this game. Exactly. What do you like in this game? I'm going to make it
real easy. I don't like anyone in this game. I like the thought of going back to Harden because he let everyone down. I like troll spots. So going back to Harden interests me, but only in one lineup. And maybe if I stack up the Golden State game, but I don't run it I don't run it back with Steph. I put in Harden and maybe hope that it's a Clay game or something like that. I have slight interest in Levine. I like the price. I like these well rested, but I'm not going to force it in at that price. And my strongest stance will be fade Maxey. Fuck Maxey.
Okay.
Fuck him.
Why do you hate him so much?
Because I rode him I rode him. Didn't get off when everyone else did, and then
now he's back.
Last night I wasn't gonna play anyone on Philly, and at the last second I jammed in Harden, and then it's fucking Maxey game again. So. One thing before we move on,
I keep seeing comments about Harden potentially sitting on a back-to-back. I mean, I haven't seen any. I think Andrew Martinez is shilling it. Is it possible Harden sits with Embiid playing? I don't know, man. What is Philly's record right now? I think they have a losing record. They're like 1-3,
Yeah.
1-4. I
Yeah.
don't know, but we'll wait on the news, obviously, for sure. I haven't seen anything personally that Harden's going to sit. Obviously, that's slate changing news if he
Yeah.
does.
Right.
Lock in
I don't-
Maxey if he does.
I don't think Kurt could fade Maxey if Harden
No.
is sitting, and then it obviously boosts Embiid, Tobias Harris, guys like that. DeAnthony Melton would probably slide into the starting lineup if Harden sat as well. So we'll see. I mean, I don't think it'll happen, but something to keep an eye on for sure. I just thought I'd bring that up because I kept seeing it in the chat. Meg, go ahead.
Okay, no, thank you for bringing that up. And after we get through our game by game breakdown, we will definitely take some questions in the chat if you guys have specific questions for these guys. We're at the halfway point, so this seems like a good time to give us the thumbs up. And if we feel like we're getting enough likes, then you're getting these guys plays of the day. So now let's go over to our fourth game. We've got the Hawks on the back end of a back-to-back going over to play the Milwaukee Bucks. Total 229 and the spread is 5.5. So Glock, what do you like in this game?
And it's just another one where you're gonna have to decide on your studs, and then if you want to run it back with the opposing stud, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think this is probably the most simple game for me from, what pieces I want. Obviously, Milwaukee, it's Giannis or bust for me. He's had an incredible start to the year so far. There was quotes about him kind of like wanting to take less drives to the paint and, reduce the wear and tear on his body. But I haven't seen any of that. I mean, he just looks incredible. Looks like I think the Bucks are undefeated as well. So he looks like he's on a mission for sure. And yeah, I mean, he would be really my only interest on the Milwaukee side. Obviously, you can always use Bobby Portis as a filler to like a last into your lineup. I know a lot of people from RPS like him as well, but just doesn't feel like he's been able to flash the upside for him. I do think this matchup is a little bit better for him where, he's coming off the bench. He can match up against a guy like John Collins, who's kind of similar size. Onyeka and Kongwu's kind of a smaller guy, so he doesn't really have to deal with like a really big man, coming off the bench. It's not like he's going up against Clint Capella. So I do like Bobby Portis somewhat. He would be my second favorite play on Milwaukee. And then, yeah, I mean, on the Atlanta side, it's going to be Trae Young or DeJounte Murray for me, right?
Right.
And the way that I've been kind of doing it so far this year is that, I prefer Trae on DraftKings, and then I prefer DeJounte Murray on FanDuel, as because their styles of play correlate better on each site, right? You have Trae, who will get that double bonus, with assists, 3-pointers. You get the bonuses on DraftKings for that. And then DeJounte on FanDuel, as Kurt fist bumps, something must have happened.
West Virginia pick, baby.
But yeah, and then on DeJounte for FanDuel, he's a really high stocks upside guy, right? So you can get the steals and blocks. Obviously, those matter a lot more over there. And so, yeah, I mean, as long as their price stays close in range, like, they're $300 apart on DK and then $100 apart on FanDuel, that's how I'm going to break the tiebreaker. I do think Trae is a better player overall and has higher upside. But as long as their prices stay close together, that's how I'll deal with the tiebreaker. And then, yeah, like, the chat is saying a lot of back-to-back sitting concerns. Both of these teams are on the back end of a back-to-back. Does concern me somewhat, mainly on the Milwaukee side, because, obviously Milwaukee's been there, done that. They could potentially have some rest spot here, right? Especially for someone like Giannis, who, played last night. So something to keep your eye on. As always, it's NBA. Keep your eyes peeled on the news, because one little thing can change the entire slate. But yeah, I mean, I think this game is pretty simple. Just the studs from each side for me.
Okay. Kurt, what is it for you in this game? Studs for you as well in this game?
Yeah, same thing. Like DeJounte Murray at 9.4. I've watched a lot of the Hawks games, and like the price difference doesn't seem like I'd rather just play Trae. But if you do fall and you don't have enough to get up to Trae, I don't mind like 9.4 for DeJounte Murray. I do like Giannis. I like Portis a lot for like the last piece in, even if you don't have a sack of this game, like just having Portis. And then if the news breaks right, like, okay, straight looks at 7. And then you have Portis already slide in, like Giannis is out. Portis goes off at 5.4. So I'm higher on Portis, not because I need Giannis to set, but it's just a big bonus if he is. I already have it prepared for my lineup.
Right. Okay. All right, well, let's head over to the fifth game. We've got the Thunder heading over to play the Dallas Mavericks. Mavericks are on a front end of a back-to-back. The total is 218.5, and the spread is 10. Kurt, I'll go over to you. I know you got a sweat going, but what do you think?
No, you're good. So I told Glock before the show started, I was like, I don't really like this Dallas game too much.
Right.
And it goes right back to what I said earlier. If it stays close, Luke is going to go off. So what do? You kind of run it back with 2 OKC options. And I'm doing the same strategy I'm doing for the other games. Like, if it stays close, Luke is going to go off. So I'm going to, like, I mean, anyone who starts on OKC, even though it's frustrating, Shea, it scares me, like, whatever he does, like, if he's playing or not, if he's not, if they keep it close, it probably is going to be Shea. So I will run it back with him. And then the rest of their cheap starters, like Kendrick Williams is playing a lot for them. He sucks, but he's a good run back. I mean, I can't really, like, I feel like OKC changed the lineup so much. I don't want to dig into who I like. I just like their starters that are cheap. Wiggins and Mann have been doing awesome. I love them because they're my summer league heroes. So I don't mind running back with them as well. Would hurt me the other day, but I don't care to go back. I think 7-5 in a game is close. He could also go for a 50 bomb.
Okay. Glock, what do you think in this game? Who are you liking?
Yeah, I mean, I'll definitely love the pieces in this game. As Kurt mentioned, it's whether or not you think it's close. And anytime I look at obviously I'm from Dallas, big Dallas Mavericks fan. Anytime I look at a slate and I can see, Luka Doncic, 6% owned, highest ceiling on the slate, you got to consider me interested. It's just the question if OKC can keep it close, right? And, that may not even be a real concern because if you look at, Dallas in general or Luka's game logs, he played 30 minutes against Memphis in a blowout and put up 65.75 fantasy points. I think one thing that's really underrated about this Mavericks team is that the loss of Jalen Brunson and how much usage that's going to actually funnel into Luka now that he's like by himself, essentially. Like it's literally him and he's passing to a bunch of guys that can shoot threes and he's going to make all the plays in that starting lineup now. It's no longer like, especially when Spencer Dinwiddie's looking the way he's looking right now, it feels like he's still trying to get accustomed to how to play with Luka. Because if you guys remember, Spencer Dinwiddie was coming off the bench and like that's a different dynamic, right? Than just being able to start a game with Luka the entire time. So, I mean, I think it's pretty simple for me. Luka only on the Dallas side. And then Dinwiddie, just 5.8K, just a little too much, I think, for my interest. 7.5K Christian Wood. I don't know. Like I've watched the games. The guy is like, has been extremely efficient besides last game. And you saw last game what happened when he wasn't extremely efficient, right?
Yeah.
Like he comes in and he's going to chuck in his 25 to high 20s in minutes. And obviously if he hits 50% of his 3-pointers, he's probably going to give you a 40 ball or something like that. But I don't know. I just can't get behind a 7.5K player off the bench. Obviously he's in play for tournaments, but in like single entry cash games, definitely don't consider him. Like I said, he's just going to have to be super, super efficient. And Luka definitely is making a conscious effort to try to feed him when he gets in the game. But like, you're asking a lot from a guy where it feels like he doesn't want him to close games still. He's siding with Maxi Kleber, for defensive purposes. I'm going to write this in the playbook, but, it's clear that, Kid likes Luka, Dorian Finney-Smith, Bullock, and Kleber out there to finish games, like due to defensive flexibility. That only leaves one spot left, on the floor for the Mavs side. And depending on who that is, like, let's say you roster Spencer Dinwiddie or Christian Wood, like one of your guys that you roster is going to be sitting on the bench, right? You're not going to want to play a guy like Dorian Finney-Smith, Bullock, Kleber. Those guys are just 3-and-D guys. So upsides in GPP is limited. And then when you have to choose between like a Spencer Dinwiddie or Christian Wood, a guy that you think is going to go off on the Dallas side, it gets a little tougher. So that's probably something I'll avoid. And then on the OKC side, you obviously have Josh Giddey out, right? So that, makes it really clear who the dogs are going to be on the Oklahoma City side. You got SGA obviously at the head of the helm. He doesn't look like he's going to come with much ownership at all. Like you start your lineup with Luka Doncic, SGA, and then you plug in Tyus Jones, which we'll talk about later. That's 3 guards that you're locked into. Your construction is going to be completely different from anyone else's on the slate. Definitely something that's very interesting to me. And then, I mean, I think you can like Aaron Wiggins. His price tag has come up a little bit, 4.2K. but he can knock down the three. There's quotes from SGA that, he really likes what Wiggins does, feels like he does whatever it takes to win. So I like that. Trey Mann, 5.6K, should start again. Always in play as well, because, with the absence of Josh Giddey, there's always going to be a secondary guy that's going to have to step up and make plays, so that they can stay competitive. So I like those three guys. And then one guy, I don't know if AP's listening, but Darius Baisley, that's his boy, 4K on DraftKings. He's been playing 20 minutes or more in the last 2 games. And he's really productive in those minutes, right? 18.5 fantasy points, 27.75. He matches up really well with Christian Wood in the second unit. I don't feel like any reason that his minutes would get reduced or anything like that. So I do like Darius Baisley as a potential value play from this game as well. So yeah, give me Luka or nothing from Dallas, obviously. Soak up all the usage there. And then on the opposite side, SGA, Aaron Wiggins, Trey Mann, and Darius Baisley.
Nice. Okay. All right. I like it. Well, we're heading into our last game. And
one thing, Meg, sorry, I
sure,
forgot to mention. Huge news that just kind of dropped before we got on the show.
Yeah.
Of the Dallas lineup, that they are considering of resting JaVale McGee and starting Dwight Powell at center. Obviously the expectations aren't that high with Dwight Powell starting at center, but he is a min price center flat, 3K. I expect him to kind of do what JaVale McGee's been doing, right? Where, he's getting like the 12 to 15 minutes. Obviously it's OKC. We've targeted bigs versus Oklahoma City a ton in the past. So he could crush in the limited time, but that's something to consider for sure if you need some salary savings. But yeah, like I said, I don't expect Dwight Powell to close the halves or anything like that.
Okay, no, thank you for bringing that up. We are heading into our last game. So before we jump into that, again, give us the thumbs up. Start putting questions in the chat after we talk about this game. We will kind of feed these guys some questions. And again, if we get enough likes, we'll give you guys their plays of the day. And I think you guys are going to want that. So let's go over to the last game. We've got the Memphis Grizzlies going to play the Utah Jazz. Total is 226.5. Spread is 2.5 points. Kurt, who do you like in this game?
Well, Ja being out opens up a lot.
Right.
A whole lot, actually. So we got Tyus Jones, 4.7 is going to be extreme chalk. Don't mind eating that.
Mm-hmm.
As far as Memphis goes, Aldama, so much usage opens up. Aldama's 5.2, Concharge 4.4, Bane 7.4. I actually don't like Bane because I don't know. He's definitely going to be in my lineups, but he's not going to be in like my first 2 or 3 because I'm going to keep having Dylan Brooks break my freaking heart. I don't care. He shoots so much. He's 5'1". I don't think it's that crazy that like Bane's going to be higher owned. Brooks is cheaper. I think he can outscore him in a one game sample. So give me Brooks over Bane and bring me the pain. Oh, look at that.
I was going to say, I could never be on the right side of Dylan Brooks when I played him in the playoffs last year.
Hey, just never play him. That's the
no,
easiest
you just
way to do
keep
it.
Playing
never
him.
play him.
Just keep playing him.
Keep playing him.
You know how you just have those guys in DFS where you're like, I'm just never going to be on the right side of it. So
he actually hasn't hurt me that much, but I think I've only played him once this year, and it was like in an alt line. So I will be on him here. I don't mind. I think we're gonna get this question, Glock. How many Memphis is too many Memphis?
There you go.
I'm gonna say 3 because I don't love having that many run backs for the Jazz. Like I don't understand why Talon Horton Tucker's popping on the optos. Do you?
What's his name is out? Mike Conley.
Oh, because Conley's out. Well,
yeah, that's actually big.
Did Colin Sexton die?
No. He's still projecting well. THT's projecting well.
I'm seeing Colin Sexton project for 23. Colin Sexton's going for 45 tonight. Like, what crack are we smoking?
There we go.
I promise you, he's going for 40 plus. I will bet my left thumb that he's going for at least 40.
Okay.
Well, he better get 35 raw then, because he's not going to rack up anything else.
Oh, he'll get 35 raw. No condom. Okay. Anyway.
All right. There we go.
Yeah. So I think Vanderbilt's going to have a big bounce back game too. So I wouldn't mind 5 guys from this game. 3 Memphis, Vanderbilt, Sexton. If you don't want to go Sexton, do Talon Horton Tucker and Vanderbilt. And then you got Kelly Olynyk and Marketing are worth considering. They've been awesome this year. Usage has been nice. They've actually been crashing the board. Well, Kelly has been crashing the board like a madman too. So don't mind rotating. I think you want to do a max of like 2 Jazz because Conley's usage isn't that crazy. he's been doing a lot, but it's not like compared to Ja. So yeah, five from this game is the max for me, and it'll be max of 2 for the Jazz.
Okay, Glock, what do you like? Who do you like in this game?
Everyone. I mean,
Yeah.
literally,
Okay.
like on the playbook, it's going to be marked as elite, and
Right.
definitely ownership will funnel this game for sure. Especially now that Mike Conley's ruled out, makes the Utah pieces a lot more attractive. And again, we're going to need to wait and see who they start. But as of now, you have Talen Horton-Tucker's projecting well. He's 3.7K. Colin Sexton's projecting well, 4.6K. Jordan Clarkson's going to absolutely chuck 6.2K. So those three, I think, would be my focus on the Utah side. Obviously, you can't go wrong with Lauri Markkanen. He obviously gets a big boost as well. He's only 6.9K shooting forward and power forward eligible. So I think those four would be my focus. Kelly Olynyk, I have my concerns about him, going against such a big backcourt in Santi Aldama and Steven Adams. He's been getting in foul trouble recently. I don't see why it wouldn't continue here. Obviously, it's a prime flop lag spot because we were all on him, a few slates ago, and he's disappointed, these past 2 slates. So I don't mind him. I mean, literally, I think everyone in play is in play on the Utah side for sure. Jared Vanderbilt, like Kurt mentioned, if he could stay out of foul trouble too, he's bound to crush. That's something he did a really good job of, the first few games of the season. And then he started getting, into that foul trouble again. So that's something to keep an eye out for. But yeah, I mean, I love this game overall. Obviously, on the Memphis side, Tyus Jones is probably going to be the highest owned player on tonight's slate. And I think rightfully so. I'm seeing 50-60% owned and, projected. I would be totally okay with just lock buttoning him. Let me see how much he is on FanDuel. 4.5K. Yeah. Like I am in these scenarios, I'm totally okay with just going 100% on the chalk, just getting overweight. That's kind of the stance you got to take, right? If you want to play the chalk, I think you got to get super overweight. If you don't, I'm not a guy like, okay, if he's going to project 50% on, I'm going to get 30% of him. I would rather just X him out or just go completely overweight. That way, I reduce the amount of things that I have to get right. So Tyus Jones, definitely my favorite play of the slate or of this game. And it will be everyone else's as well. Hot take here, but I'm in a few discords, and I say Memphis is better without Ja, and I get a lot of crap for that, but I just think Tyus Jones is extremely underrated, and it showed last year. Like they were 20-5 without Ja, so led by Tyus Jones, I think this is going to be a great game to target. Obviously, I think Kurt was lower on Desmond Bane. I think I'm higher on him for sure. This year, he has shown the ability that he can really ball handle now. And he's been kind of like that secondary playmaker, as Dillon Brooks has, kind of come back from injury. So I love those two for sure. And right now I'm seeing Desmond Bane lower owned than Dillon Brooks. I'm seeing
never mind then. I take
Dillon Brooks like 50%, 45% owned, Desmond Bane 20-30% owned. Give me all the Desmond Bane for sure. I'll go under on the Dillon Brooks chalk. Sure, he's going to chuck and, all that, but I'm not a Dillon Brooks guy. The dude can get 2 fouls in 2 minutes. And anytime he's chalk, he's a guy that I completely X out. So definitely no Dillon Brooks for me. And then, I think the bigs on Memphis, Steven Adams and Santi Aldama, they're interesting. Like, I feel like Santi started off the season good while Steven Adams kind of took the backseat. And then now recently that's flipped across. Obviously, I think Santi Aldama's upside is higher. He's got 3-point shooting upside. And I think this matchup fits him better overall against Utah, where, he can match up with someone like Lauri Markkanen or Kelly Olynyk a lot better. So I think I prefer Santi Aldama. But I mean, I don't think you could go wrong with any of these guys in this game. This is a fantastic game overall, late night hammer to finish out your Saturday night. And just climb up the leaderboards as you have like half your lineup with pieces in this game. So that'll be my goal for sure.
Okay.
Jake LaRavia, now doubtful for Memphis. I had him go for 30 for me the other day. It was really nice. I called it out on the show. I said, hey, Jake LaRavia is going to get some PT tonight. Y'all should play him. But anyways, he's doubtful. So even more safer minutes for Conchar and Aldama.
Okay.
Did they say Conchar is in? Because he was questionable the last.
I did not get that. All I got was
I saw he was questionable earlier. I don't know.
All I got was LaRavia.
Okay. Yeah. So I think Conchar is actually still questionable. That's something to keep an eye out for. Like if they're not going to have Jake LaRavia and John Conchar, they're going to
Kenny
be
Lofton season
pretty thin.
Kenny
They're going to be
Lofton?
pretty thin in the back in overall. So guys like David Roddy, I don't think he's any good. I mean, he tried to guard Luka the game that he played Dallas and he looked horrible. But guys like Brandon Clark, that would be huge for 4.4K coming off the bench. He only has a 20-minute projection
Kenny
right now.
Lofton.
Yeah,
Fat
Kenny
boy.
Lofton. Yeah, I mean, it's going to bring in guys that haven't played this year into play for sure if Conchar's out and LaRavia is out. So definitely something to keep an eye on for sure. And, obviously if those guys are out, it just raises the minute ceilings on the starters, right? Especially if they want to win this game. Memphis isn't on a front end or a back end of a back-to-back while the Jazz are. So they should be well rested and they should have all the intent to go out and win this game. So, yeah.
Well, I see someone in the chat asked, we will get to any other questions if you all have them. But I see someone asked Roddy ? So that's a no for you, Block?
I mean, he'll be in my pool for sure if, a guy like John Conchar gets ruled out as well as Jake LaRavia. It's just like their bench just becomes so thin. Like if those guys are out, they've been really leaning on LaRavia to come in and play some 3 and D.
He's looked good too.
Yeah. I mean, I know about him because he was a potential Mavs prospect for sure. And I liked what I saw from him because he's like a bigger dude, could shoot the 3. And that's something the Mavs needed. But yeah, I mean, literally if Conchar and LaRavia are out, you have guys that are projecting right now. Brandon Clark is the only established guy off the bench. And then it becomes David Roddy, Kennedy Chandler, the guy that Kurt mentioned. So it's like, it's thin. It gets really thin. So it'll be interesting to see. And something to keep an eye on as well is like John Conchar Q tag. Like if he's in, he's going to be really low owned. He's really one of the only like established guys other than Brandon Clark off the bench for them. I could see him putting up a nice spot. And he's guard and forward eligible. So something to keep your eye on, guys. Like you don't realize, but these little Q tag, last night, obviously we had a lot of Q tag news on the Stars, but things like a questionable tag on a role player that not many people are paying attention to can give you an edge on a slate like this, because whether he's in or out, that can determine, the next viable play on a thin team that's such as Memphis. So something to keep an eye on for sure.
All right, you guys get some more questions in the chat while you guys are getting questions. And I have a specific question for each of you guys. If you have to choose 1 or 2 studs as your priorities, this is my spend up. Who is it for you today, Kurt? I know we've broken all the games down, but who would be your priority star?
I think Giannis if he's in, because that game not blowing out. I'm more comfortable with that game doesn't blow out. I think Atlanta's look pretty good this year. So give me Giannis. Okay.
Glock, who's your priority stud?
No surprise, but mine will be Luka. Under 10% owned, homer or not, he's got to be in consideration, right? Like if you're 150ing, like 6% owned Luka, it's 7% under 10%. Like he can crush. He's going to be able to do whatever he wants against this Oklahoma City team. They literally have no defensive stoppers, no one on the inside that can stop him. So it's really up to him. I mean, he's almost averaging a near 70 burger on the year, and he's in shape. He's going for that MVP, so he's ready to go.
All right, I like it. Let's go over. I think we do have a couple questions in the chat. Let me see what I got over here. Is NAW on the Jazz getting any minutes? Either can
I saw him in the other day.
No, yeah, I mean,
but I don't.
Poor no. It's like we all like love him as a DFS community, but he's just like in real life basketball, nobody likes him.
Yeah.
I mean, I definitely think he deserves more minutes and he's really productive when he's out there. But, right now looking at projections around the industry, it doesn't look like, they're projecting him for much, like 5 to 10 minutes at the most. I wouldn't bank on it. It's obvious that, whether they start Colin Sexton or Talen Horton-Tucker, they drafted Ochai Okbaji. They've got Malik Beasley coming off the bench. I just feel like they have other priorities than to play Nah, so he wouldn't be in my consideration. But maybe he is for you, Kurt. I don't know. Maybe you're a Nah guy. I know AP is. So
yeah. No, I'm going way overweight on Sexton tonight. So I'll play Talen Horton-Tucker and Sexton, and if Nah beats me, then Nah beats me.
Well, yeah, someone wrote, I must be missing something. Why is Sexton a play? He's been averaging 18 minutes.
Yeah, so Mike Conley's out.
Conley's out.
So that's about as simple as it can get. I think he's
out
for I think he's out for rest management or something like that. So
not to mention his usage. Like even when he comes in, his usage is like second on the team. So
yeah,
now you have Conley's out and more minutes for like a 33% usage. Yeah, sign me up for that.
Yeah, he's gonna chuck. I mean, they traded for him, right? I mean, obviously not willingly, right? They wanted to unload on Rudy Gobert, but they traded for this guy. They got a lot of assets with him in return. So he's a young guy that they definitely want to develop, right? I mean, Conley is an older dude. I'm surprised he hasn't been moved yet, but he can be kind of like a leadership guy for these younger guys. But yeah, Sexton is definitely probably going to be, and Vanderbilt are probably going to be, and Laurie as well. They're probably going to be guys that, the Jazz want to build on foundationally in the future. So this will be a spot for sure to see what they can get out of him.
Okay. I think the rest are more statements. We have SGA, we have Luka. I think those are more people saying that's what they're maybe flag planning. So guys, we have 118 likes. Do you think that's enough to give your guys plays of the day? What do you guys think? I'll let you guys
for a Saturday.
Show.
I'll take it for a Saturday.
All right.
Yeah, that's pretty good. I've been on the MLB shows and it's hard to crack 100. So the fact that we cracked 100 on a Saturday feels good. I think we can do it.
All right. That feels good. Thank you guys for welcoming me for my first RPS show that I've been hosting. I join Kurt every Sunday night on the Sunday Night Showdown show, which is super fun. Glock, where else can we see you?
Yeah, this year I've been more like on the back end stuff. I'm managing the new FanDuel heat map that we have going 7 days a week. Obviously, AP runs the DraftKings one. But yeah, I'm just going to be in the Discord as always, grinding it out, doing the playbooks here and there, and then as well as doing the heat map. So maybe I'll be on more up to locks, as the season progresses. But as of now, I'll be rotating in on the Saturday show with you guys, and I'll be in the back end, in my street clothes.
Well, you do an awesome job. You do an awesome job on the playbook. If you're a Run Pure subscriber, you know that because the playbook, the core plays, they're very helpful. So that's obviously a good reason to become a Run Pure subscriber. So guys, I think it is time for the plays of the day. I'm going to go to Kurt first. Kurt, what is your tanning bed play of the day? And by the way, I am jealous of your tan.
So I'm going to go for value Theo Maledon, assuming he starts again in that first game. And then that by the way, that's getting off the chalk of the late game. So that's kind of like the dart throw. For my Utah Jazz, Memphis, everyone's favorite game stack play of the day, Colin Sexton. Everyone's going to go to Talon Horton Tucker. I'm hoping they don't go too much to Sexton. I think his usage is going to be insane. I think he goes off tonight. I think 50 is even in the possibilities. Colin Sexton.
All right. And I like you gave 2, so you gave a bonus. So let's go over to Glock. Let's get your Glocked and loaded play of the day. Let's hear it.
Yeah, so mine isn't really a play of the day. It's more going to be roster construction. I kind of touched on it earlier in the show where I think it's really interesting if you lock in your util spot and you go like triple point guard. So like just say you start your build with like a Luka, SGA, and then Tyus Jones. That's only going to give you one more guard spot to fill out, which is your shooting guard. And then you have to fill in with all forwards. So I think from a roster construction perspective, that's going to automatically make you different. And, that's basically triple point guard is what I'm going to be considering tonight. And if you actually use a guy like Luka Doncic, SGA, and Tyus Jones, 2 of those 3 guys are projecting to be under 15% owned cumulative. So that's going to be my focus on tonight's slate with so much chalk condensing in that late game. I'm going to try to get different, building with, positions matter. So that's how I'm going to get different tonight.
Give us a play. Boo.
That is a play. I mean, it's 3 plays in one.
Boo.
We got 2 plays out of Kuro. We got like 3 plays in one, and a whole strategy from Glock. I mean, I think you're getting a lot from these plays a day. So I like it. Well, obviously, be sure to check injury news. Be sure to check if you're a Run Pure subscriber, Glock's playbook, the core plays. They're all going to be up later. Hopefully this helps you. This has been a lot of fun, guys. Thank you so much. So for Kurt, for Glock, I'm Meg. Good luck tonight, everyone.